What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, we're doing this inside today and not outside, at least this part of it. For one, it's cold outside. Two, King of the Hammers is playing right now, and there's no way I was going to miss that today. It's Saturday, and weekends are really usually the only time I can film. It's still dark outside in the evenings by the time I get home. So I wanted to show you what I'm installing on the rig this weekend. So today we're going to be installing the all-new Fox Racing Series Steering Stabilizer 2.0 ATS. Now, what ATS stands for? Adjustable Through Shaft. And we'll get to that. However, before we get to that, I kind of wanted to talk about the debate that goes on regarding steering stabilizers. You know, there's always a debate about whether you should replace your steering stabilizer, and technically the answer is no. I think it comes down to comfort level of you, the driver. The stock steering stabilizer is plenty good for the Jeep Gladiator or the Jeep Wrangler. And technically you don't even need a steering stabilizer, but you know, everything helps when it comes to death wobble. However, if you plan to drive your Wrangler or your Gladiator mostly on the street, you never need to replace that stabilizer. That stock stabilizer is really well done and works really well. However, like I said, I think it comes down to driver comfort level. And the Fox Racing Steering Stabilizer addresses that issue. So with conventional steering stabilizers, you know, depending on how you use it, if you take it off-road, when you're turning in either direction, it actually builds up pressure inside the shock body. And it actually creates feedback in the steering wheel that may be a little bit more rougher than what you want out of the Jeep. And, you know, it's just that comfort isn't there when you're off-road. Especially if you're driving all day off-road, you know, the heat, the pressure builds up inside that shock body, and you know, it creates an uncomfortable ride, if you will. So the way to address that is to have two shocks. But by doing that, you're having to install an extra steering stabilizer and extra hardware. And not to mention, you need more space under your vehicle, and obviously it drives the costs up. So the factory series stabilizer addresses that issue. So let's open up the box and see what we got. Let's open it up this way. So we got instructions, nice little Fox decal there. You're going to have your two spacers you need to install it. The actual shock here. And the mounting hardware for the Jeep JL Wrangler or the Jeep Gladiator. Okay, so the Factory Racing Series utilizes an adjustable through shaft design, or ATS if you will. So what that does, it eliminates shock fluid displacement through the entire travel of the shock in both directions. And the external shock reservoir you see here provides additional fluid capacity and utilizes a floating piston design, or IFP, to separate the fluid from the nitrogen gas charge to eliminate cavitation. Now in suspension, cavitation in shocks, it basically is the formation of air bubbles in the dampening oil passing through the shims, if you will, and it just creates a very uncomfortable ride. Now the shock also comes with 24 clicks of adjustment, and basically that allows you to adjust the shock to your comfort level. Right now on the JK, I have it set at probably 14, and that's because I've been driving it mostly on the highway. When I do go off-road, I adjust it counterclockwise pretty much all the way down, and that gives me a little bit more freedom and play in the steering wheel, especially when I air down. Typically, normally I would keep it around middle 14, and off-road, depending on the trails that I'm going to do. If I plan to hit a trail where it's mostly fast driving, I'll actually tighten up closer, and by doing that, going clockwise, it firms up the ride a little better, and it gives you a little bit more dampening in the steering wheel. Also, the installation for this is 100% bolt-on. There's really nothing to drill, cut, or anything like that, which is really nice. It comes with the bracket that you replace your factory bracket with, and this mounts to this. And that's pretty much it. It should be a fairly easy install, pretty straightforward. Without waiting any longer, let's install this bad boy. Okay, so the day actually warmed up pretty nice. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's really nice out, actually t-shirt weather. We're gonna go ahead and secure the vehicle so that we can jack up the front end so we can start the install. Good morning, guys. It's Sunday morning. Yesterday I actually got nice enough to do the installation. However, my jack gave up. I've had a Craftsman jack now for about 20 years maybe, and it finally gave up on me. I filled it up with fluid and it didn't do anything, so there's got to be something else wrong. Anyway, this morning I went to pick up an AC Delco 3-ton jack. And I think I'm ready to get started. I did end up washing the JK. It had been sitting here dirty for a long time. There's still some swirl marks I need to get rid of, but I ended up having to wash it today. Pretty nice day out. She's looking mean. We want to just get the tires off the ground just a tad. See if I can sneak. Okay, now that we have the tires up and nice and free, we can start dismantling or removing the factory stabilizer here. It looks like it takes an 18mm bolt here and one here. However, we're going to end up removing that adapter, or this plate here that holds the stabilizer, and replace it with the Fox one that came with it. All right, so let's get started. Okay, it looks like it's going to take a 13mm socket. Okay, for those 2 upper bolts you see there, I am using this wrench, which has a built-in ratchet in it, which makes it really nice. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's got this little ratchet in here, and it's perfect for getting into tight spaces. If you can see that. Okay, now that we got the factory hardware off, factory stabilizer, it's time to assemble this piece. So this will come from the factory already tightened, so you'll have to take an Allen and loosen that up so that you can position this in the correct way for the Gladiator. Now, I think this is about where it should be. I'm going to go ahead and mount this replacement bracket. The 2 bolts go on up on the top, and this will need to be positioned in a way so you can tighten them up. So let me get that done, and then I'll show you what I did here. Okay, once you loosen this will give you a little bit of mobility, and then once you put these 2 screws in, this will allow you to rotate this piece so that you can get it in position to install it on the Gladiator. And what I mean by that is you'll be able to rotate this back and forth to line it up where you want to install it. Now, make sure you put a little bit of Loctite on these screws before you do so, and then tighten them down. Okay, before we mount this, we want to get the spacers in on this side, on this side, to fit in the factory mount for these. So the big piece, the thicker piece, goes on the bottom, and then this one goes on top, and this will make it fit nicely in the factory bracket. Okay, make sure you install the adjuster knob facing forward when you put this back in. Now we just need to set it and forget it. Okay, the last step is to check clearances. Alright guys, well that was a pretty easy install. Now the only thing that left to do is take it on a test drive.
2 hours later.
Back from the test drive, she did well. Matador is feeling pretty good right now. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and share the video with your friends. I will be doing a giveaway once we hit 1,000 subscribers, so stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for the next install. The next mod I'm going to do is an ARB twin air compressor. And remember, take life by the horns.